I did. I resigned. It got to the point where they were doing some other things that were dishonest to the point that I thought they were not legal. And so I brought this to their attention according to my contract. They had 30 days to correct this, or I could leave and still draw a salary, and they still had to pay me for the value of my company. And so we went through several 30-day periods. It finally got to about 6 months where their intention was not to correct the errors. Their intention was not to become compliant. Their intention was to draw this out and wait me out. So I jumped ship, and for a period of 2 months, I didn't know what I was going to do. I wanted to potentially get into real estate. Kim was at that time working in mortgage, so maybe sell houses. But a few of my clients contacted me saying, we know you're, and I notified them all, we know you're gone and potentially going in a different area, but what if we helped fund you starting up a new company, or what if you came and worked directly for us? And it just kind of reignited a passion for it. I love what I was doing. And so I started from scratch. I brought in 2 partners. One was a medical sales guy. The other was a guy who he and his wife had a small billing company. And we started from scratch. A few clients that I had jumped ship from the previous company and came with us, which started a long, drawn-out legal war with the old company that I left. So I started Newport Med in all the wrong ways because we had to have an attorney on our payroll for about 1.5 years. I ended up winning all the legal battle, which didn't help the company because there was so much time spent that we basically paid the attorney and were able to pay off a loss of time and resources. It was a challenge that, like, the perseverance that I didn't experience by taking my company to the next level, that was a challenge and perseverance that I realized, okay, this is what it would have required before. And so with Newport Med, when we started it, about 2 years into it, we had to fire one of our partners and realized that I had brought the large majority of the business, so much so that when we did an analysis, 90% of the business was mine, 10% was the other partners. So we hired a CEO because we were at odds, and John Chapman ran the company for a while just as an employed CEO. He had experience that we needed at the time and did a great job. And then that other partner, we ended up buying him out, so it was just John and I. John became a partner, and he helped build the company to the point that he was ready to do something else, so I bought him out. So I was sole owner of Newport Med, and in a role that I was great at operations. I still had a passion for coding. I still liked to do some of the work. But as a CEO, that's a conflict of interest. You either got to lead the company or do the operations, but really you can't do both. It's not scalable. And so I hired Scott Brummett as a vice president, soon to be a COO, and shortly thereafter I hired Sharon Yokoyama. And then all the while Neelima was working for me, and she was doing amazing things, as we all know, with coding and leading that team. And so as I hired the right people, I started to get this sense of almost aha moments of, oh, this is what other school businessmen mean, where it's like finding the right people is the only way to build a company. And so Neelima was one of the first where I got to see, like, oh, the burden of something I have a passion for, she just took it and enhanced it much more than I could have. And Sharon soon thereafter did the same with all of our financials. Newport Med, if it were up to me, would have been run into the ground financially. I'm just not a financial mind. I make what I spend and I spend what I make. And so that's not good for a company. So she quickly took over, had me back off, and I had a CEO mentor at the time who was Sharon's previous boss at a big Fortune 500 company, who just kept encouraging me first to be a firefighter, not prevent the fires from happening. And he was great about talking to me about at home first. You're a husband first, a father second, a CEO third. Because our home life plays so much in our character and our energy and our attitude at work that I just loved his demeanor, and it's biblical to like take care of home first. That's your first priority according to the Bible. And so that just started to have an effect. And at the same time, Sharon taking over, Nilima being there, and we started OmniMed, which has now Newport Med India, right around that same time. That was just God's opportunity to start a new company with the right people and do it right from the beginning, and not have the missteps that I had, not have the long drawn out challenges that come from learning by mistake. We could not make those same mistakes. We started it with a desire for excellence. We learned from our mistakes, with Sharon kind of guiding the way financially. There were no financial missteps, which would have been the way I would have done it. There were hard times. It was challenging because we had multiple partners. Ramana was an amazing partner. His aunt was a partner. Nilima and Sharon were all partners. What we didn't have is complete mind share on what it needed to look like. And so 2 or 3 years in, Ramana, who had really built the company in Hyderabad, he also had several other businesses, and his passion was not with Newport Med. He was running hospitals that his mom owned. She's a very well-known OBGYN in India, and he was running her hospitals, and so he was tied up with much bigger things. So a challenge is parting ways. A challenge is trying to do it right. And so we were challenged with making everyone whole, not letting anyone feel undervalued, but not giving up more value than what we all feel is right. So we made it through that. Ramana is still someone who I admire. I still see him almost every time I go to Hyderabad. His family is still near and dear to my heart. For 4 or 5 years, they were a significant part of my Hyderabad story. I would stay at their house. They would take care of me. They loved my family. Kim had met them, and they just honored me and helped introduce me into the way of the Indian culture.